You have an important decision to make. Are you going to go with an Advantage plan or a supplement? Let's find out together. My name's Steven, and this is Morgan.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about some Medicare stuff, and we're going to help you out because one of the early decisions you have to make when going down the path of Medicare is, what do you do? Do you have a supplement or do you go with the Advantage plan? Of course, there's lots of information in mail and emails and phone calls and all this stuff that you get all the time trying to pull you one way or the other. And we're going to help you by breaking down those decisions and giving you a path to run on so you know exactly what to do. So in order to make this simple, we're going to use two different couples to illustrate the different paths that they can go on and the circumstances that these individuals have that lead them to the decision that they make. So what am I talking about? We're going to have two couples, and as part of each couple, there's going to be a spouse that we're going to call a typical person, and we'll describe what that means. And then the other spouse is atypical. And they kind of have a little bit more of thinking to do to make the decision that they're going to make.
A gray area.
Yeah, a gray area, exactly. So here's how we're going to explore it. We're going to talk about Jane and Wayne first. Funny names, right? Okay, and then we'll do Sue and Lou. All right.
Correct.
So who's going to be the typical person in the Jane and Wayne couple?
Yes. So that couple, they are the flexible budget couple.
Flexible budget.
Yes.
All right. So
Jane
in other words, it probably means they have some money.
They have some money.
They have some assets, and they're not on a tight budget. So
Correct.
It's a flexible budget.
Correct.
Got it.
So Jane is going to be our typical scenario. And actually, she is, most individuals first signing up for Medicare is going to probably fall under her situation, the typical situation, and then also on the other side's couple is going to be Lou, is also going to be typical, but people first signing up for Medicare are going to fall under those categories mostly. For the flexible budget couple, we have Jane, and like you said, they have plenty of income. She's not worried about premium price, but she does have a preference on providers, and so she had to think through, I don't want to go Advantage route because what do we know about Advantage is they're limited on the providers that they can select. So her main thing was she knew she had income, premium price wasn't an issue. It was, I want to keep my doctors. I have a relationship with my doctors. I want to keep them and not have to ask for referrals, things like that. So she was typical and she went supplement route because the supplement you can keep your doctors and go to who you want.
So let's break that down again, and just to be clear. So if you have a flexible budget, so you're not as concerned about price, you're not real sensitive to that. Of course, you don't want to waste money. Nobody does that. But as far as being able to afford $100 or $200 in premiums on top of your Medicare Part B premium is not going to hurt you. Like, you could afford it. All right, so that's Jane. But she is concerned with network choices. Like, she doesn't want to have to be limited to a network, and she has heard or read enough about Advantage plans to know.
Correct.
If I go with an Advantage plan, it's going to be an HMO or PPO. Or PPO. Yeah. Is that what I said? Okay. They're not going to be able to go to any doctor that I want.
Right.
And I don't want that limitation. So she's going to go with the supplement. So she could afford the supplement, and then it gives her the flexibility of
not limited on
right.
her providers.
So why wouldn't her husband do the same thing?
So Wayne is the gray area, like we said. We'll have one of each in each couple. He's the gray area. Again, they have income, not worried about premium price, but he decided, why spend money when he personally, Wayne, doesn't really care on the provider that he goes to. So that was the main reason why he was like, well, money isn't an issue, but unlike Jane, who really wanted to keep her doctors, she has relationships. He goes to the doctor maybe 2-3 times a year, just routine checkups.
If that, yeah.
If that, relatively healthy, and doesn't really care who he sees, just needs to kind of get in and get out. And so he was like, why? We asked him, so what we would do with you, if you're in this gray area, is an evaluation of what matters to you most. Is it saving money on the premium in that scenario, or keeping your doctors? And like Jane, hers was keep my doctors, so obviously supplement was immediate. With Wayne, he really didn't care, but he was like, why? He didn't see the value, a good way to put it, he didn't see the value in paying the premium just to get his doctors when he didn't have a preference on his doctors.
Right. And like all premiums for insurance, you pay the premium whether you need the services or not.
Yes.
And so with Jane, it makes sense to her. Look, I don't care if I have to pay. I'm going to pay whether I'm healthy or sick because I want the flexibility. But for Wayne's logic, he's like, I'm healthy. I don't need this stuff. I'm not using it.
Right.
And I think if I remember right, of course, we changed the names of these clients, but Wayne did actually have a supplement at first, but he just thought, why am I paying all this money every year?
Right.
And I'm never even really using it. So he went over to the Advantage plan because, again, for him, the decision point wasn't about the money. It was about the networks, and he didn't mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. So then we have the other couple.
Yes. And that is Lou and Sue, and they are the limited budget couple.
Limited budget. Okay.
Yes, so they're very cost sensitive to the premium price.
Yeah, probably a fixed income that's not a lot of wiggle room or room on the margins. So
Right.
Okay.
Correct. So Lou is going to be our typical, and again, cost sensitive to premium, but he does not have a preference on providers. His
Okay.
main concern, though, again, very tight budget. He wanted to have a minimal cost, which immediately means typically Advantage plan. You will have a limited cost on the premium side for that. And so he didn't care about providers. He just needed someone to go to. So that was an easy option, was go to Advantage route. It'll save you money, and you'll have a doctor you can see.
Right. Yeah. And he didn't care
Has no
about
issues, and
yep.
he's happy with that. So then we have Sue, who's the exception. She's the gray area that we've been talking about. Again, she has a limited budget, and hers was very tight. And so she, so then our second question was, well, what about doctors? Can we do the same thing that Lou did, which was do an Advantage plan? But her difference in the gray area is she wanted to keep her doctors. She has a relationship with them, but even more so is she actually has some underlying health issues, which made us then talk her through of, okay, possibly not the best plan to go to the Advantage route and
Right.
choose a supplement, because you can keep your doctors, see who you need. She goes to the doctors multiple times a year, so it really wasn't an option for her, honestly. And so we immediately said, well, are you willing to,
Yeah.
give or take
Well,
one
just
in one
to
way?
clarify, it's not that it wasn't an option. She of course had the option to take
True.
an Advantage
Yes,
plan.
I worded that wrong.
It's just for her
In her
mindset.
mind, that's what yes.
Right. It just wasn't.
Her mindset, it wasn't an option of flexibility. I'd rather spend a little bit more and budget on other things than my health care. And so
That's
she
right. Yeah.
did that in order to keep her doctors she currently has.
So again, the critical deciding point comparing both couples is, regardless of your budget, that's obviously going to be relevant,
Yes.
right? If you can't afford a supplement of $100 and something or $200, if when you're in your 70s, if you can't afford it, then it's really not. You don't have to think too much about it. But what I would say is, regardless of whether you could afford it or not, a real critical point is going to be deciding how important is it to have doctor choices. That
Right.
may be relevant to your health,
Right.
because if you have a lot of chronic issues, a lot of specialists, you might be able to find an Advantage plan network that covers, let's say your primary and maybe one or two specialists, but then there's 2 or 3 other specialists that aren't in that network.
Right.
So that's where we find some tension, and people just don't know what to do. And cases like that, if it can be at all feasible, we find that some people are willing to cut their budget in other areas in order to
Correct.
pay for the supplement.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So to help you think through this in a visual way, we've created a chart, and you're going to be looking at the chart, and I'm going to describe it. So here we go. So where are these people falling? And the whole point of this is to find out where you fit into this category. So first ask yourself, do we have a limited budget or flexible budget? If you have a flexible budget, it's real simple. You are either going to be Wayne or Jane. Now, let's start at the bottom left quadrant. That's Jane. She's the typical person that has a flexible budget and wants to have absolute freedom of choice to go
Right.
wherever she wants, as long as they accept Medicare. She doesn't have to think about HMOs or PPOs or referrals or anything like that. So she's going to get a supplement. It's a no-brainer for her.
Correct.
Very easy decision. Then going up to the top left would be her husband, Wayne. since they are married, they have the same budget. That's not always the case, we know, but in this case it is. Okay, so Wayne has a flexible budget, but he can go either way. He could afford a supplement if he wants. He can go with an Advantage plan. And since to him, saving money on a monthly premium was more important than dealing with networks, he doesn't mind the networks, so he's just going to go with an Advantage plan this year.
Right.
Yeah. Then let's go across from there. We got the limited budget. So staying at the top, but going to the right, you have Lou. So he's limited budget, and he also, just like Wayne, doesn't really care about doctor choice.
Relatively healthy.
Yeah, pretty healthy. Or, he just kind of maybe approaches life and says, look, I didn't know this doctor that I have now before I met him. And if I have to meet a new one, I'll just meet a new one. So he just wants to save money.
Right.
And that's his priority, and get the health care, of course, he needs. But he's going to do that using a network.
So he went Advantage route.
And it's actually, for him, it was a no-brainer.
Right.
Look, I'm tight on money, and I don't care if I have a network. I'm going Advantage plan.
Mm-hmm.
But then the last of the couples there, the last of the four here is Sue, and that is she's kind of a gray area like Wayne. She really could go either way, right? She could take an Advantage plan or a supplement. If she was just concerned about money, she probably would go like her husband to an Advantage plan.
Correct.
But because in her particular case, she's got a lot of chronic issues, she's got long-standing relationship with doctors. She
visits often, goes to the doctor often, so she really cared about who she saw for her health conditions and things like that. So.
Right. So she went with the supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there is an important factor for Sue that comes into the equation, and we want to make sure that we address this. If you go to a supplement plan, let's say when you first turn 65 or are signing up for Part B, every year you're going to be given the option to switch over to an Advantage plan.
Right.
So that's an annual election time that she can choose and stop paying the premiums and get off the supplement and go to an Advantage plan.
Correct.
That option's always going to be there for her. She knows that. And so there may be a time where Sue says, I can't afford this supplement anymore. And at that point, I'm going to jump over to an Advantage plan. But for now, I'm going to pay the money and get the supplement.
Right.
So the other thing in the background there is, let's say if you reverse that. Well, let's say she starts off with an Advantage plan and then decides later, I want to go to a supplement. Mm-hmm. Will she have that choice?
She specifically would not, because she'd have to qualify health-wise. And she personally would not have qualified to go from an Advantage to a supplement plan. So turning 65, she evaluated her health, which is like one of the three things we told you to do: budget, provider choice, and health. She viewed her health and said, if I get started on an Advantage plan when I'm 65, in order to switch to a supplement plan, say at 67, 68, 70, any age, she knew she would not be able to get onto a supplement plan because she has to qualify. So she evaluated herself and said, I'm just going to start with a supplement plan, one, so I can keep my doctors, but say that's not your case. You just are more concerned about the health, and that's why she chose supplement plan, because she knew she'd have to qualify eventually and she wouldn't have been able to get on it.
That's right. So that's where are you at in that quadrant?
Yeah.
Just because I think that most people, honestly, the reason why we labeled Lou and Jane as typical is because, honestly, most people fall into one of those two categories. It's a no-brainer. You got flexible budget, and you want, the broadest option of choices so that there's no networks. You're just going to go with the supplement. You don't overthink the decision. But if you have a limited budget and whether you want to deal with networks or not, if that's more important as saving money every month, then you're also going to be going to go to an Advantage plan. It's really a no-brainer. So don't overthink this decision. It's an important decision, but don't make it too complicated. And here's the thing. We are here to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bottom line, just call Stephen and I here in the office at Strategic Estate Planning Services. We're happy to help you, especially too with Part D, which we do have a video on. You're welcome to watch as a follow-up. But the second thing you'll want to think of after signing up for Medicare Parts A and B, choosing between Advantage plan and a supplement plan. And then the third is if you go supplement route, you would need a Part D to cover that. We can help you with all of that. So just give our office a call. Stephen and I are independent, and we can help you from A to B to make sure you've got the coverage you need. So thank you for watching. Give us a call at 1-800-381-8870. But we hope you found this valuable, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching our video. We want to make sure that we draw your attention to other videos that we have, and we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. On our channel, we have more than just Medicare videos. We also have a playlist, Strategic Money Tips. They cover other areas that are very practical. We try to keep them very brief. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, click on notifications button so that you'll be notified when we put out a new video. But if we could serve you directly, please call our office, 1-800-381-8870, and visit us on our website at strategic estateplanning.com.